All right, we're back in chapter 12 of Luke, and I hope this will be our last time in Luke chapter 12. It's been a wonderful chapter. I hate to leave it, but I think it's time to depart. It's time to move on. But it's been a good one, and there's a lot covering here, and I want to go back a little bit in the chapter, some of the interactions that have happened, the context of so much of the conflict that's happening, the rising tensions between Jesus and the Pharisees and the scribes, and we got to that part, I'm trying to remember where it was, where he's warning them, warning his disciples to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, if I remember where that was.
Verse 1, twelve
Verse,
one.
yeah, began with that. Beware of them. Um, don't be like them. Beware of them as well. I mean, when you're dealing with hypocrites like this who are pretending to be one thing and are not, and they're holding and hiding their true agendas, it's a very dangerous place to be. But also, you don't want to become like them. They're motivated, it seems, primarily by greed in this greed and bitterness and jealousy. Um,
Verse
and he,
15 talks about covetousness.
yeah, and remember that scene where he has that interaction with the man in the crowd who wants him to split the inheritance with his brother. And Jesus has, I'm not here to do that kind of work here. But he gives them all warning, beware of all covetousness. And he tells the parable of the rich fool. Remember that parable?
Mhm.
What that was about? Anyone want to recite that? What was the parable of the rich fool?
He built a barn to store up his surplus, and the Lord said, "Tonight's your last night. Too bad."
The rich fool is a fascinating one. It's a true success story. I mean, it's a true success story. He is he's a rich man and he's having his best life now. I mean, everything is going great. His crops are producing abundantly and he's thinking, what do I do? I have all these crops that are just it's more than my barns can handle. Huh, that's a dilemma. So, oh, I got it. Let's just build a bigger barns and store it all and then I'll have enough to live off for the remainder of my days and I can relax. I can eat and drink and be merry. And again, we mentioned before, he forgets the last part of that parable, which is with that saying that tomorrow you
Tomorrow you die.
die. Yes. And God says, fool. And really, when you start thinking about it that way, it's like it really is foolish, isn't it? To be so caught up in the things of this world, gathering and putting our trust in them, all these things that can be taken away in a moment
Mm.
and will be taken away in a short period of time. All that you've saved up for yourself, all that you've done. I gotta share just a quick story. I had an uncle. He died back in 2018, um, and he was a lover of books. Elizabeth, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, Peter. Yeah.
My father's brother, Peter. He loved books. Every
Mm.
time he saw a book, he would buy it, and he didn't even read them. He just wanted to collect them. He loved books, and so when he moved from his home in Connecticut and moved to Rhode Island, he got the biggest U-Haul just for his books to bring them there.
Yeah.
And his son and me and my cousins, he wore us out just moving all his books into his basement. And he just stored them up there. And the thing was, some of them were really valuable books.
Mm.
But the trouble was that over the years in storage, most of them became moldy and ruined, and he could never
Um,
get rid of them. He just couldn't. It was so much, and so he ended up when he died. We went in and cleared the house. My brother-in-law cleared the house out for him. Um, and most of the books, only a handful he could do anything with. Most of them had to be just thrown out because they were all just destroyed by mold and varmints. And I'm like, there it is. It's like, and I get it. That's a very but I don't condemn him for that because that's such a common thing of where we collect things and we gather things and we put our trust in them and yet we forget the reality. Every single thing that we have is we're going to lose. And
Mm.
if it's either it's going to be destroyed or we're going to die and it's going to be just handed off to somebody else who will certainly not cherish it the way we did. It's a foolish thing to be caught up in the things of this world
Mm,
and not be rich toward God, he says. That's where the true treasures are. The spiritual things here are what we're about.
mm,
And that's where that was a big theme here. And so then he tells them, but again, that led them to the next section in 22, where it's like, well, if I don't, I mean, how do you counsel somebody who says to you, so okay, fine, you want me to not be so attached to the things of this world, but I have to live, I have to eat, I need a place to stay. If I don't
mm.
have the things of this world, I perish, I suffer, and I die. And so, I mean, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to let go of things because I might need them, right? What do you say
Pastor,
to
can I
that person?
back you up for a minute, please?
Yeah, please.
Could you describe what being rich towards God is?
Yeah, I think that's well, Jesus talks about it as laying up treasures in heaven in other passages, and that you are valuing the eternal things versus the temporal things. One of the things, specific ways in which you become rich toward God, he gives a very specific thing to do. He says, how do you provide purses for yourself in heaven? Do you remember that? I think he says it in this chapter too. Remember what he says? He says a little bit later on. I think it's a little later on. Yes, I think this is where we want to go. 32. Fear not, little flock. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the needy. Provide yourselves with money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that does not fail. So, as we are generous and we're giving and we're using the resources God has given us to bless others, especially those in need, this is how you provide money bags and become rich toward God. Because the riches of God is love,
Yep.
right? And when He's given us things, when He gives us power and wealth and strength and wisdom and all these things that give us advantages, they are always, if we're to be rich toward God, they are used in the service of love for others, not in our own selfish pursuits like the rich fool.
Yep.
But
So the rich,
there's heart issues here, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Involved. Because you would tell your kids they need to save money if they want to buy a car. They need to save money if they want to go to college. They need to save money if you want to have an apartment or your own place to live someday.
yeah,
Uh, you know, the scriptures talk about investing, casting your bread on the water and
yeah.
what have you.
Mm.
So, I mean, you don't want somebody that doesn't know how to invest their income and all this kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
there's a heart issue here involved because you can have the wrong heart issue and have not much.
Yep, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I think that's what it comes down to, isn't it? It's not money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money
Right.
that is the root of all evil. So I'll give you another example of this. It's like, it's the holiday season right now, and I've gained probably about 10 pounds already. I'll probably gain another 5 before the year's over, right?
Because you haven't been following my counsel, Pastor.
I know it. I know it. I've been neglected. So let's say, look, I want to get in shape. But let's say the new year comes now. It's like I want to get in shape, and I have to ask this question: why do I want to get in shape? And why do I want to lose weight? Why do I want to exercise and do the things that I've been neglecting and get to them? And there's two ways to answer that. One is a way that is of the world, which is I want to look good. I want people to praise me and to notice how good I am and to be more attractive to others. It can be a very self-serving way. But there's another reason that might be a really good and healthy and godly answer to that question of why should I want to be healthy?
Take
Because
care
God
of the
gave you this
temple of
body and
the
you should be
spirit.
taking care of it.
Taking care of it but to what end should I want to take care of it?
Well,
For
it's
his glory, for his service.
Yeah, so if I'm thinking in terms of I want to be this way so that I can be a blessing to others that'll have more strength and energy to serve other people with what he's given to me, that's a more loving response to that question as opposed to I want to look good in a bathing suit this year. You
Right.
know, no, it's one is vanity and the other is love. And we're thinking in terms, same thing with money. Why do I want to save? Why do I want my son to save? Well, I want my son to save, not so that he can get rich and be like the rich fool and just live an easy life. I want him to do that so he can provide for a family, that he can provide a home and be not be a burden to people, but be a blessing and to use the wealth, any excess wealth God has given him to help others.
Mm.
That's why I want him to save.
Mhm.
I don't, I don't want him to so he can become on the top 10 richest men in the world and be
Mhm.
famous for his wealth. So anyway, that's the kind of thing of I think Robbie nailed it. And he even finishes it with that phrase, isn't it? Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. It's a heart issue, isn't it? And
Mm.
what are your motives and desires going forward here?
It can. I find it can be very stressful sometimes because you do those things that you should do as a to be frugal and to be a wise investor, and the accuser says, "Are you sure you're not? you know, are you sure you're not doing these things for the wrong reasons?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a constant debate.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. But then it constantly, the one shoulder that versus the other, saying, "Are you sure?"
Yeah. By the way, there's a John Wesley was really good. He's the founder of Methodism on money, and he was renowned for his the way that he handled money, and he even in one sense he died giving away his last bits. I mean, he just and he had a sermon one time he gave with these three phrases regarding money. He said, "Earn all you can, save all you can, and give all you can."
Yeah.
And so you're looking at the scriptures and it's clearly calling us, look, work hard. Don't be lazy, work hard and save. There are many scriptures that talk about saving money, being wise and not being in debt and saving. But then there are many more that talk about give generously, and really be about that. I'm like, so that was kind of a good little guiding parameter. It doesn't answer all the questions, but it kind of gives you a general sense of direction. Um, we don't have to feel guilty for being wealthy, um, but we are to be generous. If you're
Mhm.
wealthy, you're to be generous. That's what the scriptures say.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it's not for me to tell you how much you need to be giving. That's for the Holy Spirit to guide you in that. But we each should be pursuing generosity.
I found it very encouraging when I saw in the Old Testament people like Moses and others where wealth was measured in cattle, sheep you had, number of sheep, and all that kind of stuff. That some of the men that God used were wealthy.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Goodness, Solomon, David.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find that an encouragement.
Abraham.
Yeah.
I always loved that story I heard about Lord and Taylor. It always bothered me that someone would name a store that, but apparently, when he started off beginning in his small business, he would give like 10% of his earnings to God. And uh, when it started growing, he started increasing the amount, and it literally got to the point where it was getting to the point where it was so large and it kept growing no matter how much he gave. He was giving about 50% of his profits away, and he named the company Lord and Taylor because it was the Lord first.
No kidding.
Oh,
Yeah,
I had no
I
idea.
love
That's awesome.
that.
yeah.
Huh.
Cool.
That's interesting.
Shopping
Yes.
list.
I never knew that.
No,
That's a
me
great
neither.
story.
Oh,
Yeah, there's some great stories of guys. That one of my, I'm trying to think the guy's name, George Mueller.
So I guess you're spending all your time there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a guy. Have you heard of George Mueller? He was in the 1800s. He was a real benevolent man, very generous, and he started these orphanages. And a lot he did on faith of just like he would just put it out there. He was just laying out as well. He did fairly well, but he was really sacrificing a lot. And he was running this orphanage. And there was one. He was big on prayer too, of just trusting the Lord in
Mm.
everything. And one of the great stories he has is where comes to this question of do not fear. and how the Lord will, what does he say? Seek first his kingdom, and all these things will be yours as well. And so George's there and he's got the kids around him, and it's come to a place he has no food for them in the house.
Oh,
And so it's breakfast time, and the kids are around the table, and he settles them in, and he just says, "Okay, we're going to pray now." And he asks God for to provide for their needs today. And as just about as he's finished with the prayer, there's a knock at the door, and it's the bread man, who basically is this enormous amount of bread. He says, I was really praying the other day. I just felt the need to bring this over to you today. And he brings all this bread over there. And then soon as that's happened, he gets another knock, and it's the milkman whose cart had broken down right in front of the orphanage, and the milk was going to go bad. So he brought it all in and gave them all their milk. And it had all these great stories of how God just provided for their needs.
Mhm.
And it's an exciting thing when I really encourage people this way. It's like when you begin to give generously, and the joy of that, and then to see how God takes care of you. He doesn't leave you hanging. He doesn't let you suffer and dwindle and starve. It's like, why would he? He is love, and when we are using what he's given us for loving, what does he say? To whom much has been given,
much is
much
Much is
more,
expected.
much is required. And but when he says, what does he say? Give, and it will be given to you. Pressed
Mm.
down, even running over. Um, that whole thing of just be about love and giving, and God takes care of us always. And don't be afraid.
You
Don't be
can't
afraid.
you can't outgive God.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's a great. There's so much you could say about this, but um, we'll continue here because that's going to be one of the themes here. So he goes forward, and verse 35, he speaks to his disciples and tells them to be ready for action. That the Son of Man is coming. There's a judgment coming when you don't expect, just like with the rich fool. The day of judgment's coming, whether the Lord comes in the flesh or he takes you home. The day of judgment's coming. Be ready. And blessed are the servants who are ready, who are not abusing the others, but are serving them
Mm.
and taking care of each other. Very important lessons for us. And that's where Peter says, and we're going to come to our text today, are you telling this for us or for everybody? And basically, Jesus says, it's for everybody. The word for the faithful servants is there's great reward when you serve, when you love one another, when you care for the household of faith. But the word for the world is be wary. There's great judgment coming for those who are beating the servants, who are eating and drinking, getting drunk, who are living selfish lives when they know, especially if they know what they need to do, like the Pharisees and the priests and their authorities. There's a severe beating coming. For those who don't know it, it's a lighter beating. That may be a disciplinary thing. Um, but there we left it off last time. Too much is given, much is required. Um, all right, so let's pick it up. Oh, wait a minute. And then we have more to go here. And then finally he says, I didn't come to bring peace on earth, which is a shock. We thought he came to bring peace on earth. He says, no, I actually came to cast fire on the earth. And if you remember what the difference was of why when we say that when Jesus was born, the angel said peace on earth, but Jesus says, I didn't come to bring peace on earth. In what sense does he bring peace? In what sense does he bring fire?
He brings peace between us and God, and he
Yes.
brings fire between believers and non-believers.
Yeah. Yeah. He's coming. He is going to be bearing the curse for us so that we can be reconciled to God. But that's going to mean trouble with the world. Not that we're causing trouble. Not that we are the ones instigating this. No, we're called to love our enemies, but the hatred of the world is going to intensify against us because of our allegiance to Christ, and even your own household, 2 against 3, 3 against 2.
Yeah.
Fathers against sons, and mothers against daughters, and even mother-in-laws against daughters-in-laws. And so there's trouble brewing here for us. So now we pick up these last two sections of chapter 12. And he speaks now to the crowds. So he's been telling this to his disciples and then kind of moving outward now to the crowds now, speaking to everyone. And let's read that here. Um, let's see. Teresa, would you start us off 54 to 56?
Sure. He also said to the crowds, "When you see a cloud rising in the west, you say at once, a shower is coming. And so it happens. And when you see the south wind blow, you say, there will be scorching heat, and it happens. You hypocrites. You know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and sky, but why do you not know how to interpret the present time?"
Okay. All right. So now he speaks to the crowds. So this is everybody, not just his disciples, but it's to the crowds, not to his disciples. I would argue that when he says this is not a word he's giving necessarily to his people, because his disciples have interpreted the times and they're following him here, but to the crowds, I would argue this is to the unbelievers there, especially because what does he call them in this section?
Hypocrites.
The hypocrites,
Mm.
right? There's only one hypocrite among his disciples, and that's Judas. So, everyone's a sinner. Not everyone's a hypocrite in this regard. The hypocrites are the pretenders. They know. How should we say this? It's not. Again, being a hypocrite is not that you don't practice what you preach. No one practices what they preach. A hypocrite is someone who pretends to believe something that he does not really believe. So the Pharisees, the hypocrite means actor, are pretending to believe or pretending that they're looking forward to the Messiah, that they really love God. They're pretenders, and inside they're frauds. They don't believe a word of it. Like Judas, who the ultimate hypocrisy is when Judas betrays Christ. And what does he do to betray him?
Kisses him.
He kisses him.
Mm.
He pretends to be his friend while he is truly his enemy at that moment. That's why his is different from Peter's. Peter is like in a moment of fear and terror, is just, lies. Yep, he does. But Peter, when he said, "I will never deny you," meant it. He was not planning on denying the Lord in that time, whereas Judas was planning. So that's why, and I always stress that, because Jesus has no good words for hypocrites. And so I hope none of us see ourselves as hypocrites. And if you are, repent immediately or you're damned. I mean, this is a big deal.
Mm.
So what does he say to the crowds? He gives them two analogies here.
Talk
Okay.
about the weather. And
So when you see a cloud rising in the west, you say,
you know it's going to rain.
okay, shower is coming. Okay. So in other words, the signs of rain. And then when you see the south wind blowing,
Scorching heat.
yeah, it's going to be hot. You say there will be scorching heat. Okay. So in other words, the signs of heat, the signs of rain. Again, rain is something that they are looking forward to, something good. It's a blessing from the Lord, especially in this climate. It's not like the floods in it's like let's say you're out in Seattle or even England, where rain is just, I'm sick of the rain. It's like this is a desert region, so that's a good thing. So when you see a cloud, you're rising in the west, your heart leaps because you can see something good is coming your way. And when you feel the breeze coming from the south, you are concerned because you know heat is coming that could destroy everything for you here. So he gives them the two extremes of weather for them, that they is a blessing, one is a curse.
Could you say that they are aware and know the things of the earth, but not in the spirit?
Yeah, that's what he says here, doesn't he? He says his point is, what is his point in this?
You see all of these miracles going around, but you don't understand that's because the kingdom of God is here.
Yeah. So what are they pretending? Okay, here's the question. You hypocrites means they're pretending something. What are they pretending?
That they believe in him.
Yeah, well, even so, what they don't believe in him, and they're very very public about that. They don't believe that, at least they're saying publicly. This is where they're tricky. If you remember, let me pull back for a second.
Yeah,
I
because
think
this is to the crowds, it's not to the Pharisees.
it's to the crowds. The Pharisees and their groups are going to be among the crowds. And so again, it's not everyone in the crowds is a hypocrite and unbeliever, but those who are saying, who know how to interpret the signs, are saying that they don't know how to interpret the present time. So I'll give you an example of their hypocrisy. Do you remember when they said to Jesus, what does he say? I'm trying to remember how he did this. He asked them for a sign of some sort, and he says to them, I'll ask you a question. The baptism of John, was it from men or from God? And how did they respond to that?
They
We don't
didn't want
know.
to answer. Oh.
We don't know.
Yeah, they didn't want to answer it because either way they said it, it would make them look bad to the people around them.
Yeah, they said if we say it's from God, then he's going to say, why didn't you believe him then?
Mhm.
But if we say it's from men, then the crowds are going to stone us because they all think he's a prophet.
Mm.
So we'll just say, well, we don't know. We don't know. It's beyond us to know.
Mm.
That's an example of this. It's like, you know how to interpret the appearance of sky and earth and sky. And what is the meaning of the miracles we've seen here?
Mhm. You know, there's a passage in, I think it's Jeremiah, and many places in the Old Testament. They're messianic passages. They're called as a group. They point to what you will see when the Messiah appears, and they claim to know their scriptures.
Yeah.
So they said, you know, when the Messiah shows up, you'll see the lame will walk, the mute will talk, and so on and so forth. They're seeing all these things. So how can they not interpret the times? He says, you see these things.
Yeah.
You have Isaiah 53.
Mm-hmm.
It says this is what's going to happen to the Messiah. You're seeing the beginning of that now in his persecution. How can you not interpret these things?
Or even before that, Isaiah, where it was the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to heal the sick and to set the captives free. And you're seeing all these miracles. And the question is Jesus, they don't even have to answer the question, is he the Messiah? It's just start with, even like the blind man knew enough to say he is from God. He is, I don't know if he's the Messiah or not, but he's definitely at least a prophet. He's from God.
Demons.
Yeah, go ahead.
He said the demons knew.
The demons knew who he was. Yeah. The crowds knew, the blind men knew, the Samaritans knew, and he didn't even do any miracles for the Samaritans. He just shows up there and starts talking to them, and they're like, this is it. This is the guy. So he does all these miracles, and again, the crowds, the stupid crowds, these people, these ignorant people, these beggars, these paupers, these losers of society, they believe, they may or may not know who exactly he is, but they're the ones who are calling him Lord, Son of David. They're the ones who are saying he's a prophet. Maybe he's even Elijah who's to come. They're the ones who are recognizing these things. The Pharisees are saying he's of the devil. But even there, it's like, do they believe he's from the devil? No, they don't believe that.
Wanna
They're
make
saying
it
what
look
they
bad.
need to say.
Yeah.
There's a phrase that I've heard. It's like you move the goalposts is what you're doing. So because you have your preconceived conclusion of what has to be, whether Jesus is the Messiah or not doesn't matter. But he cannot be the Messiah, because if he is, we have to follow him then, and we have to give up control. Sorry, can't do that. Can't do that. And so we're going to find a way to make sure that it is understood that he is not the Messiah. Whether he is or not, doesn't matter. He can't be, because we're going to lose our positions, and it's going to be big trouble. But all the signs are there, and you know how to interpret signs. You're not stupid. You know how to interpret the signs. And goodness, they're probably better at weather forecasting than our weather forecasters are today. So they get it. And here are all these signs, and you're hypocrites. You're pretending like you don't know what, they don't have the courage enough just yet to say, we need to kill him right now. Because remember, he tells him when he's in Jerusalem, he says, how many times you're arresting me now in private? Why did they arrest him in private? Why didn't they arrest him when he was in the temple? He does everything in public. Why don't they arrest him then?
The midnight trial.
Yeah, why do they do that?
Because
Why
he
not?
really wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah, he wasn't a fugitive. He wasn't hiding out, running from them. He's appearing every day in their presence, and they never touch him, right?
Right.
Mhm.
They're afraid of the people, how they'll react.
Yep, they're all about the crowds. They're all about that. And so they got to find a way. And they don't even want to, and why don't they just, do what they did to Stephen and just stone him,
Mm.
right? Although they tried that one time, throwing him off a cliff in his hometown, if you remember. But they don't. Because they need the Romans to do the dirty work for them. It's so corrupt and so cowardly. The signs, and you're not interpreting them. And so he's giving them a warning here. He's giving them a warning, and the signs that of the present time is the Lord has come. And you need to be ready now. And so let's finish this up here. Liz Pervinis, would you read 57 to 59?
Certainly. And why do you not judge for yourselves what is right? As you go with your accuser before the magistrate, make an effort to settle with him on the way, lest he drag you to the judge, and the judge hand you over to the officer, and the officer put you in prison. I tell you, you will never get out until you have paid the very last penny.
This is an interesting passage here, because it is the same passage that Matthew uses in the Sermon on the Mount, if you remember. But Matthew uses it in a different way. In Matthew's presentation of the Sermon on the Mount, this is where he talks about, if anyone is angry with his brother, he is liable to judgment. If he says, you fool, you're liable to the hot fires of hell. And then he says, basically, you need to settle accounts with your accuser, lest he drag you into court, and you'll have to pay the last penny. And there it seems to be, the accuser is your brother who's got an issue with you, and you need to settle matters quickly with him, lest you end up in real bigger trouble here. So settle matters quickly, leave your gift at the altar, go be settled. There's an urgency to reconciliation in the church among brothers in Christ, right? But in this passage, it's a little different. He's not talking to Christians here. He's talking to the crowds now. And so now you judge for yourselves what's right. And what does he say? What's the wisdom that he's trying to give them? The warning and the wisdom here.
Don't listen to what other people are telling you. Look at the signs yourself and make your own decision.
Okay. Make your own decisions. But then he says, and what does he mean here? Verse 57 to 59. Judge for yourselves. That's your point there, right? Judge for yourselves. What is right. And so you'd say that is saying, look, make up your own mind.
I think he's saying Jesus is the way to settle out of court.
Yeah, let's talk about that here. As you go with your accuser before the magistrate. So we have an accuser. Who is your accuser in this passage here? The accuser is someone who's charging you with.
Yeah, I'd say God.
Yeah.
And his son is the way to settle out of court.
It's kind of funny because I always think of, you always hear of the accuser as being the devil.
Yeah, but we're not to settle with he's the false accuser. He's the slanderer.
Yeah.
But he says the one who's making this accusation, who is accusing the crowds?
The Pharisees?
Well, Jesus just accused them of being hypocrites.
Jesus just accused them of hypocrisy, didn't he?
Yeah.
And his wisdom for them is, I'm making this accusation against you, and I'm warning you, you will not, you hypocrites. So you need to therefore make an effort. Don't just sit there to settle with him. To settle with Christ. You need to make peace with Jesus Christ as, let's put it this way, in his humbled estate. He's out there, and you have wronged him. The accuser is the one you've wronged. And he's accusing you. That's what it is. It's like he's not the lawyer, the attorney. And so if you've wronged someone, if you've wronged your neighbor, okay, you've done harm, done some kind of evil against him, he has every right to press charges on you. But if you're wise, you will go to your neighbor and seek to settle with him, to make it right before he takes you to court. Because if he takes you to court, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea is, what's that?
Can the judge be God?
Yeah, the judge. Well, it's interesting because the judge is the general sense is that the judge, strangely, will be Jesus himself. He is the one you've accused. He's the one you've harmed, and he's the one who will judge you. Also, you have a chance now to settle with him before you get to court.
So make an effort to settle with him on the way. So while you're still alive, while you've still got the time to make a decision and try to make things right, do it now. Because if you take my mercy now, you're in good shape. If you don't take my mercy, you'll get my justice.
Yeah, this is what I love about it. It's like Jesus, he doesn't hold grudges. If you have, no matter what you've done, every sin against the Son of Man can be forgiven. Come to me, right? Even Saul, you could be killing my people. You could be arresting them and blaspheming my name up and down. And yet, if you will settle accounts with me on the way, if you will come to me and apologize and repent and embrace me now, all is forgiven. All is taken care of. But be warned, if you don't, you will be taken before the court and put in prison, and you will never get out until you pay the last penny. Justice is coming. So we'll put it this way. The lesson is there's mercy for those who settle with Christ before the judgment day. Justice for those who don't. So even these Pharisees, and many Pharisees, by the way, did become believers in the book of Acts. Many of them do come around. I'm sure many of those who were going along with the crowds and saying, crucify him, we know that 3,000 of them on the day of Pentecost, many of them would have been there saying, crucify him. And they were forgiven, baptized and forgiven and restored and become part of his kingdom. He says, so make an effort now to settle with him on the way, because the day is coming when it's going to be too late. And again, it might be with the return of Christ, or whether we see it or not, every one of us has an expiration date where we have to settle accounts now. It's all due. So be at peace with me. But this is an interesting phrase because, again, the accuser in this is himself. They're the ones who have been slandering him. They're the ones speaking evil of him, plotting to kill him. And even then, he says, it's not too late. You can be forgiven. You can turn around. And even after they do all the evil that they intend to him, it is still not too late, because until their day of judgment comes. So that's the end of chapter 12. We did it. All right. It took us a little bit, but we got it. So any last comments or questions on our text here today?
There's so much to this. It's just amazing what you help us glean out of it.
I know.
I'm glad.
It's true.
So I'm going to stop.